Hello everyone, welcome back to another build order. I'm going to teach you guys how to do a blue flame Hellbat push, or rather Innovation's going to teach you. This might have been something you saw in TvZ with proxy. This one's just going to be staying at home, but still providing that aggression, that push with Hellbats, MEDIVACs, and blue flame. So let's get started. Send out your first SCV to build a supply depot. Barracks, refinery, fill up your gas, Orbital and Reaper. Send an SCV out to Scout. And an SCV to build your command center now. Supply depot. Marine. Factory. Refinery. Reactor on the barracks. Second factory, hide it somewhere in the back of your base. Swap your first factory onto the reactor. Start building Hellions. Starport. Depot. From now on, just remember not to get supply blocked. Pretty much just continue making depots constantly. Add a tech lab to the second factory. Send your first two Hellions out to scout in case any roaches are coming across the map, but be careful with them. Get a Viking from the Starport. Start up blue flame. Get a medevac. Armory. Start sending your units across the map. When the armory is done and the medevac has joined with the Hellbats, transform them and move in. Should be hitting around 5:15. Bring the Viking along as well. It can grab a couple of overlords or land and help out on the ground. If and when the attack starts to get cleaned up, consider leaving them with the medevac full of Hellbats to drop later on. Get another medevac. Start up STIM. Get a third command center. Double engineering base. And start adding on reactors and barracks. Now onto the build discussion. So the strengths of the build, it's deceptive. It looks like kind of a typical 1-1-1 with only some slight timings messed up. They really want to and need to scout the second factory being there to have a strong idea of what it is. They can also determine it based on how many Hellions you're making, but it's not the weirdest thing to see someone make like more than 6 Hellions and not do a blue flame attack, but rather just like a regular Hellbat attack. It can get easy victories. Straight up, it can surprise your opponent with no banelings and no roaches and just kill them. Follow-up harassment is a big chance to get more damage done. You can pick up in the medevacs either Hellbats or Hellions. If you save any Hellions, you can dart in later and try and get some free drone kills. You still have the power of the blue flame for a little while unless you just run face first into all the banelings they have. The follow-up macro isn't that bad, really. You definitely have a delay on multiple things. Usually it's a 6 Hellion into reactor building and barracks building and a swift 2 medevac follow-up. Like that would be a typical non-Hellbat build. So you are pushing off a drop or a push, but it's not that bad. The weaknesses of the build, it can be scouted. We saw that Overlord's speed had been researched by Innovation's opponents, but it just barely missed the actual second factory, I believe. So if it is scouted, be prepared to work against walls. You still can probably do some damage, especially if they don't know how to deal with Hellbat attacks. The just sheer amount of push power that Hellbats have with a medevac is not to be underestimated, so you can even jump on top of low numbers of roaches or low numbers of queens. But yeah, it can be scouted, it can be defended against. If you're up against someone who like was just coincidentally going roaches as well and they already have 6 or 7, it might not do a whole lot of damage. The follow-up doing damage, the harassment that is there for you might not actually be easy to execute. So if you found yourself facing someone who actually has roaches and ling speed and the ability to make both, and they clean up your attack and then immediately counter, yeah, you could be in trouble. I mean, maybe try and fit in a tank in your production back home, but otherwise you're hoping to keep them back at home with harassment, which some of us might just not be able to do. And the last weakness is that, yeah, the macro is definitely off here. So you are looking to do some damage. At the very least, just spend the maximum amount of time doing this push to really mess up their build order as well. Tips and tricks. Know the common locations of overlords so your Viking kills them as soon as possible. So that's going to be 1 over any pervert tower. That's what we call them, right over your natural. So check there usually first, and then usually around the sides of your main base, right? So sometimes they only have 1 overlord, sometimes it's 2. Your Vikings should be able to kill both before they actually get scouting. If they're slow overlords, if they're fast, you're in a bit of trouble there. Proxying the second factory, or rather hiding it somewhere out in the map, not necessarily in closer to your opponent, is possible, but no overlord locations. Again, this has to do with just how many overlords are sent out on the map in the early stages of a TvZ. Sometimes that third overlord could be coincidentally where you put your factory, so just be mindful. Check your replays, see where Zergs usually place them. Hide the additional Hellions past 6 while using the usual 6 to scout and harass. So Typical build orders here have 6 Hellions and then they move on unless they lose the Hellions or are doing, well, a Hellbat build. So if you just show 6 plus the Reaper out in the map, you are hopefully going to deceive them into thinking it's a normal build. You know, they are not going to get a Ling in close enough to see that you're building more Hellions because you'll have a wall up as well. Follow up the attack with Hellbat and Hellion drops. So yeah, if you can, make sure that MEDIVAC stays alive, MEDIVAC stay alive and start doing some double drops, one to the left, one to the right type stuff, to continue not just doing damage, but also buying time for you to macro back at home because you don't have a ton of really good production as the game goes on. And finally, make sure to be mindful of your supply depots. It's tempting to just rally in your Hellions as you continue your push, but a common way for Zergs to try and get some revenge or just buy more time or just simply even out the score is to do a run by with like 16 Lings, something like that into your natural. Just keep those depots up until you have a decent amount of Hellions to actually send across the map. And that does it. Thank you so much for watching this build order tutorial. I hope it helps your TvZ and gives you a couple of free victories. Please check me out on Twitch, twitch.tv/ZombieGrub, where I stream 5, sometimes 6 days a week. And please follow the channel here on YouTube. Have fun on ladder, guys. See ya.